Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter. I'm Patricia A. Murray. I publish the Durham Skywriter, and obviously I'm the host of TV Skywriter. Today's guest, we have a very special guest, Barbara Lau. She is the director of the Pauli Murray Project. Welcome to the show, Barbara.
Thanks so much for having us, Pat. It's great to be with you.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about the Pauli Murray Day celebration that's going to be held tomorrow at the Scrap Exchange. But let's go back. And why don't you tell us, there might be a few people who say that name's familiar, but I'm not sure who that is. So who was Pauli Murray?
Well, she was a really important 20th century human rights activist, and she grew up in Durham. Many accomplishments, but also many challenges. She was one of the founders of the National Organization for Women. She was the first African-American woman to be an Episcopal priest. She was a fighter for civil rights, human rights throughout her life. She was an author and a poet, just a pretty amazing and brilliant person who lived from 1910 to 1985, and whose vision we believe is, well, I always joke and say we're finally catching up to Pauli. So I'm excited to share her life and her vision with many, many more people through our programs.
And she is now a saint, right?
That's right. The Episcopal Church included her in 2012 in their Book of Holy Women, Holy Men, which is sort of their version of sainthood, not the same as, not to be confused with the Catholic Church, but really holding her up as a life to be emulated by others.
Awesome. So what does the Pauli Murray Project do? I thought you were associated with the Center for Documentary Studies. Didn't it start out there, or am I wrong?
Well, we did a program called Face Up, telling stories of community life with neighborhoods in Southwest Central Durham. And as a part of that, this public art project, there were 5 large murals created about Pauli Murray that now are across Durham. And then it was after that that we started in 2009, the Pauli Murray Project. We're part of the Duke Human Rights Center at the Franklin Humanities Institute. Mm-hmm. But we've also spun off a new organization, a separate small nonprofit called the Pauli Murray Center for History and Social Justice, which is going to be housed in Pauli Murray's family childhood home.
Nice. And I'm wondering, I want to talk about the birthday celebration, but I am curious about that house. I've seen it. And I'm wondering, what are the plans for it?
Well, we're excited to announce that it's being nominated as a National Historic Landmark, which would be a part of the National Park Service system, just in terms of its recognition. But right now, we're just trying to save the historic home. It was built in 1898, I'm sorry, by Pauli Murray's grandfather, Robert George Fitzgerald. And so right now we're just trying to stabilize it and save it. And we're just embarking upon the process to really think about the innovative ways that we can engage our visitors with Pauli Murray's story, but more importantly, Pauli Murray's vision, and inviting them to be a part of continuing her work.
Okay. Now she's beloved nowadays, and I'm wondering, in her day when she was alive doing her work, was she held in very high regard, or was she dismissed because she was a woman? Or I'm just wondering what it was like for her while she was living.
Well, at certain times in her life, she was very well known. In the mid-1940s, for example, Mademoiselle magazine listed her as one of the 15 women of the year to watch for her work as a civil rights and women's rights attorney. She's been lifted up at different times. She actually ran for office in New York City at that point. As time went on, I think that she was lesser known, one, because she sort of preferred to work on her own. She wasn't an affiliate or a spokesperson for any particular organization. And so her work was a little bit more behind the scenes. I think now we're getting to know her through these various kinds of work. I also think in the 70s, people really knew who she was because of her the accomplishment of becoming the first African-American woman to be an Episcopal priest. But I have great news for you, Pat. In February of 2016, there's a new book coming out, 10 years or longer, maybe 20 years in the making. It's called The Firebrand and the First Lady. And it's about Pauli Murray's relationship with Eleanor Roosevelt and the important ways in which she influenced Eleanor, who therefore influenced Franklin. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really exciting. Patricia Bell Scott's going to be with us on February the 23rd to sign books and read from that and talk about that work. But I think more and more people are discovering Pauli as a really important player, but who was a little bit more of a behind the scenes thinker, strategist, writer than necessarily a spokesperson. And as you and I both know, it wasn't like a lot of women of color were given the bully pulpit, as it were kind of invited to be the spokespeople during many of these liberation struggles. I think it's now when we see the women behind Black Lives Matter, when we think about the really strong position women are taking across the country as spokespeople around different liberation movements, that will really begin to recognize Pauli Murray as one of our foremothers.
Absolutely, because I don't hear her name enough. I really don't.
We're working on it.
I was born in Chicago, so I didn't grow up hearing about her necessarily as being, well, my mom's from Durham. So I heard the name Pauli Murray every now and then, but I really do hope that people really get to learn about who she is. And they can get that start by going to the Scrap Exchange.
Yes.
They have an ongoing exhibit, but tomorrow is a very special day. Tell us about tomorrow.
That's right. Tomorrow is Pauli Murray's 105th birthday. And so every year we celebrate her birthday. And this year we're so happy to be doing that as in the exhibition. So the exhibition is up for 3 more weeks until December 12th. It's called Pauli Murray, Imp, Crusader, Dude, Priest. And it's free. The Scrap Exchange, which is in Lakewood Shopping Center at 2050 Chapel Hill Road, is open every day from 11 to 7. And anyone can come in and come and see the exhibit anytime. We actually had 57th and 8th graders in there this morning doing a field trip. So it was really exciting.
It's nice to hear her voice, you know?
Right. There's a piece of video. One of the only pieces of video that we know about was an interview she did in the 1970s with Charles Kuralt as part of his famous On the Road series. And we have a segment of that interview with her speaking in the exhibit that you can sit and listen to and kind of just get a sense of who she was and her personality and that kind of thing.
Do you think she was fun-loving? Because whenever I see her or pictures of her, she looks so serious. Did she have a fun times in her life as well? I only hear about her work.
I know. I think a lot of us, that's what we hear about. And I think she was a pretty serious person. I'd like to think that she was a fun-loving person. I mean, you know, there are some pictures of her, especially there's some great pictures in her archive of her at the party that they threw after she became a priest. And you really see that beautiful smile and, you know, get a sense that she was really celebrating at that point. You know, I wish we knew more about her day-to-day life. And I hope that some of the folks that the researchers who have been able to spend more time really reading a lot of the journals and the material in the archive will help us learn a little bit more about her as their work begins to be published. I know there's another book kind of in process that's all about how Pauli Murray was a part of a small group of activists that helped bring the Gandhian ideas of nonviolence to the civil rights movement. So I'm pretty excited about that book as well. Yeah.
Okay.
She was everywhere, right? There's a great quote from a historian who edited a book called Notable American Women. And in the 20th century version, she basically says, you know, when looking at 20th century American history, all roads lead to Pauli Murray.
I like that.
Because she really was in the intersection of all of those struggles and liberation movements and a lot of the action. We just haven't always heard about her. So we're trying to change that. I think if we get named a National Historic Landmark, that's going to really invite a lot more people to think about, well, who is this person and why should I, you know, check out her place.
So tell us what's going to happen tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Scrap Exchange.
Well, of course, we're going to have birthday cake. We always have birthday cake,
cake,
which is really fun. Sarah Scriven, who's our program coordinator, is developing a Pauli Murray Jeopardy trivia contest or game. The exhibit will be open. We're going to have a short talk just about the exhibit and the design of the exhibit, you know, a little bit about how we put it together. We're so happy that we have a young poet joining us. She'll be sharing 2 or 3 poems, and then Kimberly McCrae will be.
And her name is
toast. I'm sorry?
And her name is Wizzo?
Yes, it is. She's a high school student, and she's just a brilliant young poet. So she was featured at our event in November, which was called Speaking Power. So we've invited her back to share some poems, and then Kimberly McRae is going to offer a toast, so that we think about Pauli Murray here at 105, and we'll eat cake and have a good time. We'll also be, we have a labyrinth that we build over at the house every year. It's called the Proud Shoes Labyrinth. And so literally people will be invited to decorate shoes that will then become a part of this labyrinth on the front lawn that you'll be able to walk in once it's finished. So lots of fun.
Very nice. So this is an all ages family event.
Yes, ma'am.
At the
Absolutely.
Exchange. It's at the Shops at Lakewood, 2050 Chapel Hill Road. And it starts at 6. Does it go until 9 or do you know?
Yeah, that's sort of the time frame. We'll end at 9. That's around the time that the scrap exchange closes. But, we probably will kick things off a little 6:15 or so, and have a little bit of this program, and then sing happy birthday and eat cake and have snacks and, have a great time.
Nice. Now, this is a sort of an abbreviated version of TV Skywriter, because this is the weekday edition, local edition. So I only have one more question, because I know people need to get back to work or whatever. Can you just tell us just a tiny bit about the curriculum that's available for students from elementary through high school?
Yes, thanks to an amazing team of interns last summer. We have this curriculum that is designed primarily for 3rd, 4th, and 8th grade students, but adaptable to students in any grade. 4th and 8th grade is when students learn about North Carolina history. 3rd grade is part of that curriculum is about community. So we thought those would be the most appropriate, but there's activities that can be done in the classroom or at home. There's activities related specifically to the exhibit that anyone can do. We don't certainly need to be there. And then follow-up activities that can happen after a visit to the exhibit. But all of the materials, all the worksheets, all the photographs, everything that you might need for it is all available on the website, www.pauli, Pauli, Murray, Murray, project.org/exhibit. And at that site, you can learn more about the exhibit, more about some of the images in the exhibit, see additional images, and connect to the curriculum.
Awesome. And the Pauli Murray Imp, Crusader, Dude, Priest. That's a funny title for an exhibit, but I like it. It sounds very creative and fun. So it's only going to be on exhibit for 3 more weeks, right?
That's right.
And the wording was interesting. It said, from what I read, that it leaves Durham. So that kind of implies that the exhibit's going on tour?
Well, we hope that the exhibit will be able to open in some other locations. We've been talking with some folks in other cities about possibly bringing the exhibit there, or creating the exhibit in a different format that would travel a little bit easier. So we're still working on that. Of course, there's funding issues and just logistical things, but we certainly hope this isn't the last place that the exhibit was up. It was actually developed as a commission from the Levine Museum of the New South in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then it's been here for almost 4 months. It's just, it's really fun. The title actually comes from photographs that Pauli had posed and had taken and named herself. So in a photo album that she created, there's the imp, the dude, the vagabond, the poet, the crusader. And so these are images that help us understand part of the way Pauli sees herself or saw herself.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Barbara Lau. Now, where can people learn about the Pauli Murray Project? Should they go to Facebook or to a website?
That's great. I think Facebook and the website. The website is paulymurrayproject.org, and we are on Facebook. We do post regular updates about what's happening at the house, and we hope that people will follow us. And from there, they can also send me an email and sign up on our email mailing list. We're always trying to identify additional resources because we want to keep that house renovation project going. That's a big project. Expensive project, but we know that the end product will really be worth it. So we hope more folks will check out Pauli Murray and learn more about our work.
I think it'll also be nice for the West End. It's a wonderful community, and I think renovating the house and making that a tourist spot would be wonderful for the community.
I agree that, the West End has been home to so many important social justice leaders. Pauli Murray's just one of them. And being able to spotlight the history of the neighborhood and so many of the African-American business people and educators that were early Durham residents, it's our great honor to be in the West End and to help lift up the history there as well.
And the gentleman who founded Chicken Hut from the West End.
That's right. That's right. The Chicken Hut's first location, I think, was in the West End.
I think it was on Carroll Street. Actually, isn't the house on Carroll Street?
The house is on Carroll Street, yes. 906 Carroll.
Okay. So is it just empty now?
Yes. I mean, right now it's really, we've been removing all the what are called the non-historic materials. We've been, we took the siding off. We've been sanding off the lead paint that's on the exterior. We've been doing some repair. There's been a lot of damage to the foundation of the house because of some water runoff in the cemetery. Took many years, almost 80, to get the city to fix that, but they finally did that in 2014, and so we're now beginning to do foundation repairs, and we'll then begin to replace some of the things that we've had to take off, like the front porch and the rear rooms, to bring the house back into the shape that maybe Pauli Murray experienced.
I'm one more question. I know I asked one more question a minute ago, but I'm very curious. Now, it was her grandfather who was the brick mason?
Actually, it was her great uncle. They both were they were actually brick makers. So her great uncle, Richard Fitzgerald, and her grandfather, Robert Fitzgerald, both had that skill of brick making. And as we know, with Durham's tobacco industry and the explosion of business opportunities in the decades following the Civil War, there was a great demand for bricks. And unfortunately, Pauli's grandfather was injured when he was a soldier on behalf of the Union in the Civil War, but her great uncle came here and became a very, very successful businessman, Richard Fitzgerald. So they made bricks. They had a brickyard that's over near where the Freeman Center for Jewish Life is now on Duke's campus. Richard Fitzgerald was a founder and the first president of Mechanics and Farmers Bank. He was a big real estate baron. He owned property in the West End and also in Hayti. So they were a very successful family, yes.
I see. Wow. And with that, this time I do bid you adieu, Barbara Lyle. Thank you for being on the show. That was really great to learn more about Pauli Murray, the Pauli Murray Project. And let's invite everyone to come out to the Scrap Exchange tomorrow at 9 to celebrate Pauli Murray's, what would have been her 105th birthday.
Yes, thanks so much for having us, Pat, and we hope to see you there.
I will be there, and hopefully we'll be doing some live streaming or at least some videotaping.
Excellent.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Barbara.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, folks, that was TV Skywriter, the local edition. If you would like to be a guest on the show, just write to me, durhamskywriter@gmail.com. I'd like to have you on if you have something really cool to talk about. And please read the Durham Skywriter. That's Durham, North Carolina's online community paper. It's now evolved into a hybrid newspaper video resource, which is exactly where I wanted it to be. I'm very happy to finally reach this point. So with that, I bid you good day. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow at the Scrap Exchange. Ciao for now.